had a near-death experience, and my health was in terrible condition. And then the person I was dating at the time, who I was living with, I was doing martial arts, and she was having a behind closed door, behind my back, relationship with one of my training partners.
Oh my gosh.
And when all of these three things happened all at the exact same time, that's when I just kind of, I said, that's enough.
Yeah. Hello, my loves. This is Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And I am obsessed with all things metaphysical, esoteric, galactic, and of course, the healing journey. And I'm here to share my stories, my wisdom, and my teachings about being human in the illusion that we call reality. Welcome to Cosmic Blonde. Hello, my loves. I am so excited to be bringing you an awesome guest today. His name is Julian Bermudez, and he is a therapist, a guide, a companion on the path of healing. He works closely with people navigating trauma, identity, which is very convenient for all of my OG followers who have been doing all the identity work with me, and the integration of psychedelic experiences, helping them reconnect to their deep, unshakable truth of who they are underneath the layers of appearance. Welcome, Julian. Thank you for being on the show today.
Yes, very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yay. So let's start. I'm just going to have you start off by telling a little bit about your story and how this became of you.
Yeah, is there anything in particular you'd like me to focus on?
Generally just like what led you into doing this type of work. I always find that
Mhm.
people who do any type of work, especially related to trauma or working with psychedelic integration, there's always a story behind like what led them into psychedelics or what led them into helping people with trauma. You know, I find that most people in this industry used those things to heal themselves, and that's what made them go on to heal other people. So I'm just curious as to what led you into this.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's it precisely. I'm happy to give as many details or as little as you want here, but my upbringing was very traumatic. It left me with a tremendous amount of pain. I was in constant survival mode and didn't ever really know anything outside of it.
Yeah.
And at one point, when I was in my very early 20s, I kind of snapped because life was just unbearable and it wasn't going to last. And I said, that's enough. No more. Uh, I am taking responsibility. I am not going to just follow because I was seeing that the patterns that I was in were the exact same patterns that my parents were in. And I said, no more. I'm not following that. And
Yeah.
that set me out on this path of really trying to figure things out, figuring out how to transform the pain and to take accountability for my own life. And the more and more that it started to click and I was able to not just know the
Yeah.
concepts, but to actually apply and to do them, um, that really enabled me to be in a very unique position where I can understand other people's pain and I know a path through it. So that's how I got to helping other people.
What was the thing if you don't want to share, that's fine, but what was the thing that made you snap and go, wait like what snapped you out of that mindset?
Yeah. There were a few things happening all synergistically at the exact same time. I had been living on my own since I was, an early teen, so there was the struggle, and I had a near-death experience, and my health was in terrible condition. And then the person I was dating at the time, who I was living with, I was doing martial arts, and she was having a behind closed door, behind my back, relationship with one of my training partners.
Oh my gosh.
And when all of these three things happened all at the exact same time, that's when I just kind of, I said, that's enough.
Yeah. So you said you had a near-death experience. Did you actually like flatline and like have an experience of the afterlife, or did you just have like a close call?
Yeah, it was somewhere in the middle. It was a prolonged one, so I was very sick. I had repeated illnesses through infections and then things like pneumonia. And like I said, my health was in terrible condition, and I was drinking a lot at the time, and Prescription painkillers were, available by the dozen. Didn't have
Right.
insurance, don't have health insurance, can't get antibiotics for the infections. But boy, were those painkillers right at my door. And so, it was a mix between the infections and then having pneumonia and being in that haze. I mean, I was there for a couple months and was just kind of in and out constantly, never really fully able to be here, but always in that middle ground. And then, you throw in 3 or 4 nights of heavy drinking and then some pills, and that pushed me pretty close.
Yeah. Did you have any type of experience when you were in that space though, or did you just did you just come out of it like with just new perspective?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for those few months right there, a lot of interesting things started happening. I kept going into this dream state, and it was very difficult. I was really starting to consider if I was developing like some sort of schizophrenia
Yeah.
or some sort of dissociation. I didn't have the terminology for it at this point, but it actually really fueled me to really want to go and study this academically, which was part of the transition. So I started having this incredible dream state, very cyclical, repetitive, exact same dynamics happening, same time periods, same experience over and over and over again, and it was jarring to say the least. And so I kept having this, and it just once it happened, it was like a splinter in my mind. I couldn't not see what was happening.
Yeah.
And it really made me question the foundations of reality and what my life is. And that right there, when I started getting curious about it, was there's too much going on here.
Yeah.
There's so much to be excited about, so much mystery, so much awe, so many things to explore. Why am I stuck in this one little narrow confine of a pattern that was handed to me?
Yeah.
And so those dreams, repetitive, I mean, it was really incredible. It was a really incredible time. And that was what really catalyzed it and led me to really try and find some answers.
What did you start to do to stop the pattern that you said was handed down from your parents? Like what things did you personally do to break that pattern?
hmm I started looking at myself with a curious lens. And this is what I help a lot of people with now, but I didn't know that. Nobody taught me that. I didn't find a teacher who taught me this.
Right.
It just kind of happened through this few months of this experience that I was talking about. And there was one time I was with my mom, and my mom and we have a very stressed relationship.
It's mine too.
Uh, um, so when we interact, it's very rare that we have interactions. And she calls me up, and usually something terrible's happening. Like she needs me to protect her from somebody or something. And she calls me up, and my brother is getting out of jail. He's been in jail for like 6 months or a year or whatever. And the prison is about 3 hours away, and she needs to go pick him up, but she can't drive it for whatever reason, and she needs me to drive. And I don't have a driver's license at this time. I'm not supposed to be behind the wheel, but she's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it if anything happens." So me being in desperate need of validation, I accept it. And so we're driving up to the prison, and she's telling me these stories of her and her husband. And I'm seeing so clearly that I'm in that exact same pattern. I'm with somebody who's doing the same things that my mom does, who's looking for the same things that my mom is looking for, and then that would make me her husband.
Yeah.
So I just saw the connection so clearly. And when I saw that in particular, I was already looking at myself with this new lens. I was starting to question a lot of the things that I was doing. I didn't really have the questions that I wanted to ask just yet, but you don't have to have them at that point. You just need to start questioning.
Yeah.
And when I heard her say that, and then I was talking about that girlfriend that I mentioned, and she said, "Oh, she's just looking for a Dan," and that's my mom's husband. And I said, "Oh," it clicked right there. And so then right away, what I started doing was just carving things out of my life, relationships, friendships, patterns, the gym that I was training at, doing martial arts, everything that I was doing, cleared it out. Clean slate. The only thing that really stayed were like one or two friends and my two dogs. Changed the place I was living, started taking classes at the community college, just immediately started changing everything that I could in my life. The problem is when you clear everything out and you start growing something new again, chances are you're growing the same thing that you grew before because you don't know anything outside of it. So
Right.
it was a lot of trial and error in doing that.
Yeah. When did you venture into psychedelics and what did that do for you?
Mm. So when I was having those dreams and this incredible out of body near death experience that was just kept repeating over and over and over for months, like I said, it left me with this incredible curiosity. And so I started, it's funny, when I was in high school, I barely made it out. It took me 5 years. And I was like, there were 287 people in my class. I was like 285. I was
Oh,
second from the bottom. Um, but I got praised for two things, one being a great writer and two having a really good understanding of psychology. So I was in like, advanced placement psychology classes, but then in, remedial math where they're just passing me just to get me out of there. So I start taking psychology courses at the community college because I'm trying to figure out what this experience was. And between that and some English classes that I had with really good teachers, something about community college, the small classes and the people who are teaching was, I mean, way better than any university experience I had. So I start getting into Carl Jung, and he's talking about mythology, archetypes, and these repetitive human experiences. And of course, that leads me to Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey. And I start seeing a lot of parallels in the experience that I had and what's described through a lot of indigenous traditions. He wasn't really talking about psychedelics at this point, but he was absolutely talking about it.
yeah.
And so that opened the doorway. And I started finding some incredible teachers who were looking at the psychedelic experience. And when I get hungry for something, I get curious about it, I go all in. And so I had reviewed all the literature, and this was the focal point of all of my studies at this point. So I'm taking like physics classes and psychology and history classes, and this is the lens I'm looking at everything through. And I studied it for about 7 years in university and afterwards. And then the psychedelic came to me. And it was so interesting how it happened because I had a dream where a character comes to me and he gives me the psychedelic. And I take it and I have the psychedelic experience in my dream. And then he tells me at the end, he says, "This is how you know you have found it." And he gives me the characteristic of this psychedelic. The very next day, it comes to me in that exact same way. So I just saw this as so synchronistic that I had to go into it. And I
Yeah.
thought I was ready. And that's when I started exploring it. And I'll tell you, reading about it and trying to get to that experience through meditation and through determination versus having the experience, two completely different things.
Yes, definitely. Because we release DMT, our brain releases DMT.
Yeah,
But it then when you do something like ayahuasca or just straight DMT or something else that's going to open you up, it's a whole different ball game.
yeah, precisely.
What psychedelic did you end up doing?
It was the very first one was LSD, and it was also paired with DMT as well. So I didn't do them at the exact same time, but
Yeah.
they both came to me at the exact same time. So those were the first two of choice.
It's interesting because LSD keeps showing up for me, and I've always wanted to microdose it. I've never,
Mhm.
and when I was, I don't know, 16, 15, I did acid once. It's like I've never been someone who's done any type of real recreational drugs. And it was just a wild experience, but I keep feeling this urge to microdose LSD. Why let me rephrase. Do you need to take DMT with LSD? Like, what is
No,
the
no, no.
benefit of of doing them both?
Yeah. I didn't do them both at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So they came to me through this person at the
Yeah.
exact same time.
Oh, I
I
see.
worked with them completely separately. I did LSD first, and then I was dipping my toes in the DMT. And the DMT was great because you can go in so slow and so easily until you go in too far, of course. But
Yeah.
it only lasts for 5 minutes. So it was this really interesting way of dipping my toes into the experience.
Yeah.
I really don't work with it in that capacity anymore. This was me in the very
Yeah.
beginning, not knowing, I mean, knowing the literature, but then again, applying it's totally different.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing at that point. And yeah, I mean, it was calling to me, much like what you're experiencing right
Yeah.
now.
What did that experience give you or open you up to?
hmm the first experience I had, which was with a low dosage of LSD, um, it was kind of like everything clicked. It was like, whoa, this is the path. All the things that I was learning about and studying are really starting to click into that embodiment where
Yeah.
you're there. And it was beautiful. It was welcoming. It was great. The second one started to show me you're carrying around a lot of pain that you're ignoring, that you're suppressing, that you're avoiding, that you're exiling, distracting from. And so I was like, ooh, I don't really like that. Because that was the only pattern I had known for my
Yeah.
pain was to get away from it, do everything you can to make this go away, distract yourself in every single way. And this would be what we would call an addiction, something that distracts you from the pain, provides you some short-term relief, but has long-term harm. I
Yeah.
was addicted to the gills. I wasn't using substances by any means. I mean, unless you call it like sugar. And I was using things like the internet, and I was using my thirst for information as a form of disconnecting from this pain.
Yeah.
And so the second one, again, low dosage, I got that, ooh, I don't really know about this, but I was also in it. So I said, it was like one of those like, ooh, I don't know if I like this, but also, yes, I do like this. So there was an inner conflict. The third LSD experience kicked my ass. I took way too much, way too soon in the complete wrong circumstances.
Mm.
And I mean, looking back on it, I probably took like 10 to 12 doses.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, it was absolutely it. I didn't realize I was taking, I mean, I knew I was taking a lot,
Yeah.
but I didn't know I was taking that much. And at this point, we can call it an ego, this identity, this I know something type of belief about myself was
Yeah.
really kicking in. And I think it served some important functions, but I was thinking like, I know how to navigate this. I've done the research, 7 years. Come on, I know what I'm doing. Um, I'm good. And no, that's not the
No,
case at all.
research versus experience is never the same.
Yeah. And during that experience, of course, I was completely confronted with all the pain that I carry. There's no avoiding it. And that's what the psychedelic does is it brings that pain
Yeah.
directly to the surface for you to engage with it. And I saw how much I want to get away from it. And I was just totally confronted with it. I couldn't escape it. And I saw it from other perspectives. I saw it from my dog's perspectives. I saw it from my partner's perspectives. I saw it from my family's perspective. I saw the pain that they were carrying. It was really intense. And then I went into this death where all of that died and it was laid to rest. And then I was being reborn, which was very, very challenging and very traumatic. And for the very first time in my life, I stepped outside of that survival bias, that busy mind that was always super active to take me away from this nervousness, this anxiety, this impending doom that's about to happen,
Yeah.
all reliving all the memories, all the trauma, all the abuse, all the pain. It was resting for the first time in my life. I knew peace.
What did that feel like?
It's funny because I have that feeling now. It was a sense of being completely here and there's nothing wrong. with being here, the nervousness that this right here, which is where I was always at. I was just resting, and it was so relieving and peaceful. I won't even say that there was an emotional component to this. There was,
No, I would assume it would be, I mean, anytime I feel that way, it's so neutral.
yeah, yeah. No, I was very aware that the emotions were right there and they would come in waves, and then the
Yeah,
mind would kick back in because I didn't know what to do with the emotions. But I had transcended all of that, and it was just pure acceptance. It was belonging, which is two things I've never ever known in my life at this
right.
point. The clenching in my guts, the tension in my shoulders, the throbbing in my heart, the weight, the heat, the freezing, the fluttering, all of that rested. And I don't know how long this lasted for. It seemed like it was just a few moments because I would find it and then whoom, the wave of all the thinking and the emotions would come back. And then I would really focus on it because I'm being born again and I know I can grab onto this. I'm focusing. And I found it again. And then it comes back, right? All of the waves. So it was incredible because I caught a glimpse of something that existed outside of my experience that I desperately longed for.
Right.
And then I came back to where I was. And it was almost too much to bear. It was almost too much to handle, but it was just enough because it lit that spark under me. And the quest became, how do I get back to that space indefinitely
Yeah, how do
without
you
the
live
use of
there?
anything? Exactly.
Yeah.
How do I make that my life? How do I get back to that existence? I know it's possible because I felt it, because I've been there. How do I get back there and make it easier on myself getting there? And that was what set me on the path of figuring out how to do this.
So, I mean, everybody's issues and traumas and things are a little bit different. Obviously, you know that as someone who helps people through those processes. But how did you integrate that? Like, what were some of the things that you did for you? Because obviously, I can tell just from our pre-interview and being with you that you probably live more in that settled, peaceful state than most people that I've met. So how long did it take you, and what are just a few of the things that you did to help you integrate that state of being?
Yeah, about 10 years to where I'm at now. About 20 years if you count from the beginning of me really trying to figure this out on my own. So this is not an immediate fix. And don't get me wrong, I get, the waves of those emotions that still come, the residual pain from the past.
Yeah,
I'll get caught in a wave of remembering and reliving past experiences and the intense, overwhelming waves of anger, resentment, fear, pain. They still exist.
yeah,
They never, for me, I won't say that they're never going to go away because their presence has absolutely diminished and their power has almost completely evaporated,
right.
but their presence is still there.
Yeah,
So the practice for me has always been, how do I be present with what is? Not judge it. Don't judge it. Don't evaluate it. Don't criticize it. How can I attune or connect, engage, and participate in whatever it is that I'm experiencing? So when things are wonderful and expansive, and I'm, experiencing tremendous gratitude and love and connection, how can I really be with that?
yeah,
In order to do that, I have to be with the experiences that are very difficult, very painful, very challenging. So when something terrible is happening in my life and I can't exert any control over that, I can't make it stop, I can't make it go away.
right.
How can I be with it in every moment as much as possible? That's been the practice. And so this
Yeah,
is something that we have to do all day, every day. It's a constant practice of being present.
yeah. And that's so true. I mean, I was just talking to my own community a couple of days ago about this, and it's like even some of us who are very self-aware and been on this journey for decades, for some of us, it's funny how sometimes we still skip that very first step and the most important step, which is acceptance of what is. And I'm a firm believer in acceptance is not agreement. We're not agreeing to what we're feeling, or we're not agreeing that we're happy with our circumstances. It's just like, this is what's here. This is what is. There's nothing you can change about it. Can you just accept it? Because I always see it like this. If you're not accepting it, your fist is closed. But if you're accepting it, whatever's there is free to come and go. And there's like a level of non-attachment there. And I think that practice is so incredibly important that we don't skip that and we start there. Um, and it's something that I do as well, is always coming back to, well, I don't have to like this, but this is what's here and this is what's showing up. And for me personally, whenever I have those waves, because like you, I don't believe, I'm not going to say I don't believe it never ends either, but I don't get triggered as much. And when I do, it doesn't rule me. It doesn't stop me. I just, okay, this is what this feels like. I just feel it and come into acceptance of myself, that version of me, really, right? And just sitting in the dark with myself and not judging her or trying to fix her. Because I feel like we all get trapped in that energy of trying to fix ourselves
Yeah.
instead of accept ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And if we can't accept ourselves, if we are trying to fix or change or get rid of parts of ourselves, there's judgment, there's evaluation, there's criticism. And I'm willing to bet if we ask ourselves honestly, is this the first time in our life we've experienced that? The answer is always no. We learned it from somewhere. Somebody treated us this way.
Yeah.
And so there's great pain here that absolutely has to be addressed. And acknowledging it, like recognizing it and identifying it's the first step. But then, yeah, you have to accept that it's here. And if you don't do that, well, then you've bypassed it.
Hmm.
And this term spiritual bypass is a major pitfall in our community.
Yeah.
I've done it. I work with people on a regular basis who come to me and they say, I've done the work. I've been doing this for 20, 30 years, 40 years. I follow the exact same teachers that you follow. What's going on here? Why can't I do this? And again, there's this difference between knowing and applying.
Yes.
And we can have all the information, but it's very easy to bypass those pain points that are inside of us because the patterns that we learned are to bypass them and to get rid of them and to judge them and exile them and evaluate and criticize and punish them. So when we have this pain inside of us, we tell it, if you're going to be upset, I'll give you something to be upset about. Go to your room
Right.
and suppress that feeling. And until you can suppress and regulate it, then you can't get any connection. So we continue the exact same patterns, treating ourselves this way, and we get stuck in these ruts and we can't even see it most of the times. And that's
Hmm.
why working with somebody is crucial because you can have the psychedelic experience and this will become super obvious, but we have defense mechanisms that are stopping us from seeing it. And so getting through those are very, very challenging. And that's why, yeah, doing it with somebody is super important because
Yeah.
you're in it. You're just like it's like putting together a puzzle, but you're looking at it from just a couple inches away. You can't see all the pieces.
And a couple of things you mentioned, and I know you're kind of moving away from the psychedelic world, but the environment in which you do this in is so important if you're going to do psychedelics. The same way the if you're gonna the coach you pick or the healer that you pick is important. You need to know where their frequency is, what they've been through.
Mhm.
Um, and with the psychedelics, like I picked somebody when I did ayahuasca that believed that the only way through was trial by fire. Basically, it was like you've got to go into the depths of hell, basically. And it was actually surprising to me that I picked him, and I know there was good reason for it. But the guides have long told me that you can heal through joy faster than you can heal through walking through
Yeah.
the flames. And I needed to have that experience to understand that one of my beliefs is everything has to be hard. Everything
Yeah.
has to be challenging. As if it's not,
Mhm.
then it's not worth it, right? We attach worth to challenges.
Mhm.
And um, I also realized that there was a belief that things couldn't be easy, they couldn't be simple, they couldn't be seamless, that things couldn't be effortless. And I really learned over the years the polarity there of like the ego is the one that needs the challenge. The ego is those I call them protector personalities or masks that we make identities out of. They really need the challenge. They thrive on that. That's where they got their reward. And by not having challenges or not creating challenges for yourself, as we often do, the ego gets bored or decides to cool in more chaos. And that when you really are living in flow, when you really are living in alignment, things are simple. Things are effortless, easy. Action comes through inspiration. It's just like all seamless. And so I'm interested in how you do identity work because that's just a topic that my communities, we've really been working on shedding those identities and really first, becoming aware of them, and working through the process of integrating them back into the whole. So if there's anything you want to share on how your experience has been or how you do that kind of work, we'd be super grateful to learn from you.
Sure, sure. Well, first thing was set and setting is super important in these. And I'm not stepping away from the psychedelic experience, or the psychedelic community. I'm just changing the way that I work with people in that
Okay.
sense. Um, yeah, set and setting is everything. And, if you're down in the Amazon and you're in the pitch black darkness, the oppressive, claustrophobic darkness, what's the set and setting? Well,
Darkness.
it's your internal state.
Yeah.
It's all of the awareness that you've built of what you're carrying around and the ways that you process information, meaning the beliefs of yourself and the world around you. And that's where we get into what you were just talking about these beliefs of it has to be intense, it has to be hard. And of course, when we believe that ourselves, we'll find other people who believe that
Hmm.
we're just drawn to it. And yeah, that's I used to have that exact same belief too. Um, when I would look for a therapist, it's got to be intense. We got to get right into it. And it's got to be hard, otherwise it's not going to work. And when you really look at this, there's a core belief about ourselves here, and it's something like I'm broken, I'm defective, I'm not worthy or deserving, and if I'm going to get something, it has to be this level of intensity to get through my brokenness.
Yeah.
That's what it was for me, at least. So that's an identity right there. That's a core belief.
Yeah.
That's how I view myself. And that's the set and setting right there. So if we go into a psychedelic experience believing that, you can get it. You are gonna get it all
I
right.
did.
Yep, we all do. And it can be a fantastic teacher. And, we don't need to do that.
Mm-mm.
So when I work with people, and very frequently they come through with that belief, it's very common.
So do you
And
recommend them like going through a process of shedding that identity before they step into that experience?
well, I don't know about shedding it, but becoming very aware of it.
Okay.
Really, really learning to identify and recognize it. And let's get curious about it. Where did this belief come from? Where did we learn this from? In what circumstances did this belief originate from? Because this will tell us a lot about the pain that's underneath it
Yeah.
and what needs this belief is actually trying to serve. Okay. Once we figure those things out, well, can we meet those needs in more constructive ways with some more choice, agency, autonomy, and how we'll get there? Most of the times, what people are really looking for is gentleness, joy,
Yes.
and humor. And I learned that down in Peru myself when I was in the Amazon, because again, I was on the gotta be intense, I've got to suffer, I've got to go through great pain in order to, and it was, and this guy looks at me, the shaman, he says, it doesn't have to be intense. Why don't you, instead of setting your intentions and focusing extensively on creating suffering, why don't you look for joy and gentleness and humor? And I was like, you can do that?
This episode has been brought to you by Evolve. Evolve is a membership community designed to help you shift your frequency and create the reality that you are desiring, and to shift you back into alignment with your authenticity, which just so happens to be your most magnetic state of being. This is an all inclusive membership. valued more than $5,000. It includes 9 full-length digital courses, 2 bonus courses, a meditation library that also includes activations and language of light transmissions. It has master classes. We offer monthly themes according to the channeled energy of the month with practices. And it offers a 50% off discount on single sessions with Johanna. We also have 2 monthly group coaching calls on Zoom that we can do hot seat coaching. We can have you talk about whatever's going on with you and help you work through it, or we can do messages from spirit. This also includes a group chat with direct access to me, usually only available in my high ticket offers like private mentorship. In the month of October, we are offering 2 bonuses for those who pay the yearly rate. One is a 90-minute quantum shift session with Johanna, valued at $350 alone. And the second is a custom binaural beats track using technology that analyzes your voice to bring you back into alignment and harmony with your authenticity. That is also a $350 value, and that is provided by Christine Freeland of Earth's Kiss Alchemy. If this is something that sparks an interest for you, I invite you to learn more by looking in the description box below.
And he said, of course you can. And it was a game changer for me. Don't get me wrong, I have had challenging experiences since then, but when something terrible is happening in life, there's so many degrees of what's happening, so many dimensions to it, and pain, fear, sadness, anger, those are all just dimensions of it, but joy, humor, gentleness, connection, those are all other dimensions, and
Yeah.
we can focus on all of them. So in terms of the identity piece, yeah, what I really want to look at is adaptations. Each piece that constructs who we are is usually an adaptation to pain. So if I'm a people pleaser, if I identify with always trying to take care of other people, oftentimes or almost always at my own expense, that's my identity. And that's an adaptation. I learned that from somewhere. In
Yeah.
very specific conditions, it serves a very specific purpose. Can I figure out where that comes from
Mm-hmm.
and why it's here? What's the teaching? What is this personality trait, we might call it, which really it's just an adaptation? What needs is this adaptation trying to meet?
Yes.
Now, if I can see that, now I can make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody asks me to do something and I really want to say no, and I know it's going to hurt me if I do it, but I still am going to say yes, I can become aware of that. And I can say, oh, ho, 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 this is me as a kid trying to get my parents' approval.
Right.
This is the child inside of me right here who says, I know exactly what to do in this situation. We want love. We want acceptance. We want to be valued. This is how we do it. And then I can choose how I work with that part of me right there. I can meet those needs without having to get it through sacrificing myself for somebody else.
Yeah.
So this is what I look at very closely are these dynamics, these adaptations that we have that we'll call personality traits. If I'm really purpose driven and I go out into the world and I got status and I got respect and I am valued in my position of power and I accumulate wealth and I get all of the material things. Where did I learn that from?
Yeah.
What does this serve for me? What am I trying to get? And why don't I have those things already? The
Yeah.
value, the respect, the worth. Why don't I have that already? Where in my life did I learn that I don't have that? Or where in my life did I lose that? If I stop doing all of those things, what then happens to that value and worth? So if I have this job where I'm a doctor and I'm very important to every single person that I see and they need me, what happens when I stop being a doctor?
Yeah.
What happens to that sense of worth and respect? Oh, it goes away. Okay. Can I figure out ways to cultivate self-worth, self-respect, self-value that don't revolve around or need me to do these things for other people? Can I be good enough just for being me.
Yes.
So those are the things that we look at. Everybody's got them, and there's so many of them, and that's what we're really looking at. And then when we have a psychedelic experience, we can go into that pain point that's there. And if we're missing worth, if we're missing value, if we're missing um, importance,
Yeah.
we can go in with the intention of saying, I'm going to go cultivate that myself in this area where I really need it. I'm going to be the person to give me all those things that I needed that I didn't get when I really needed it. So I'm going to become the person that I've been waiting for.
Yeah. I mean, that really is the story, right? The hero's journey, because I know for me, I spent most of my life looking for somebody to save me, right? Because as a
Hmm.
child, nobody saved me from the
Yeah.
abuse or the
Right.
neglect. And it led me through an interesting path because we usually do the opposite of, we usually do what we needed done to us. And so I noticed, and I didn't really have this awareness until my third marriage, but I noticed that I picked friends and partners who needed me to,
Hmm.
and or needed me to fix them or to do something for them, because that's how I grew up. Like my parents needed me more than they did for me. And so that belief was cultivated inside of me. And it thankfully, when I realized that and walked away and was like, okay, I have to save myself. I'm sitting here trying to save everybody else, and I'm drowning because of that, right? Um, and exactly what you said is when my kids were grown, I decided to be a nomad. I literally had no animals, no one else to take care of but myself. It was a challenging first couple of years because I did not know how to operate in that. I was like, I've only ever known how to take care of other people. And that is where I
Hmm.
derived my worth. And it was a very intense lesson in self-love and self-respect and self-worth. But it's not one that I ever regret, because I think the only way, that was probably the only way at that time that I would have taken that journey into that level of
Hmm.
depth. And I thought I was already on the path, but and I was had better boundaries and I was saying no, but I was still running around taking care of everybody else and not having enough energy to fully take care of me the way that I needed. It wasn't that I wasn't taking care of me. But this is something that almost every client I've ever had has had some story that's similar to what we both have said. And it's just such important work
Hmm.
that people know that you're worthy and you're enough and perfect just as you are without doing anything. It's your birthright.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not many of us get that though.
I know.
It sounds to me like from what you just described that in your childhood, the roles were reversed,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
meaning that you were responsible for taking on your parents' emotions.
Yep.
And that is a very common story right there,
Yeah.
which is, as a child, you're supposed to be taken care of.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have all of your needs met from the adults. But here, the adults don't know how to take care of their needs, and they need you to take care of them for them.
Yeah.
And so we get into these patterns of always taking care of other people's needs above our own. The belief is something along the lines of, I'm responsible for other people's emotions.
Yeah.
And so then, yeah, we find ourselves in relationships where we're going to be the parent to our partners. And yeah, I mean, as I'm sure you might know,
Hmm.
it doesn't work out very well.
It doesn't, and all it did is make me angry at myself more than
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't just that, like it was just this depth of, I wasn't just responsible for their emotions. I was responsible for things that no child should be responsible for or even know how to
Hmm.
do, which created another
Yeah.
set of beliefs. And there's so many splinters and um, that created all these different masks and identities within me.
Yeah.
And the more aware I got, the more I could actually see myself shifting into that identity and going, ooh, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to look through that lens. I don't want to have this experience again. I'm going to choose differently. And so I love that you're doing that. And I think that it's really important work.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so you're cultivating agency,
Mm-hmm.
choice.
Yeah,
And that's the practice right there. First comes awareness. We have to
always.
become aware of the pattern. If we're going to make any choices, first you have to become aware of what's happening. And then you got to accept that it's there. Because if you're
Yeah.
just going to fight it and try and get rid of it, you can never actually engage with it.
No.
So you
Yeah.
say, okay, here I'm in this pattern again. I'm about to do this exact same thing again. Now you can make choices
Yeah.
and you can begin to nurture yourself in much more constructive ways.
Yeah.
And that's really the path right there. And we'll always go deeper with it. We'll find new ways that we're doing these exact same things. They show up in so many elusive and sneaky ways. It's old man Withers who hired us for the job, right? You pull off the mask, it's the exact same character.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the really important work right there is to really start to see those patterns and to make choices on what we do with them.
Do you feel like that you have integrated a lot of those identities or masks that you had? Do you feel like that you spend majority of your time more in the most authentic version of you now?
I mean, in terms of the trajectory of my life, I'd say
Yeah.
yes. I'm much more authentic today. I'm much more flexible. My range of motion is much greater. I'm much more gentle and softer with myself and with others.
Yeah.
See, I would always find myself going into places that couldn't accept me. I'm biracial. My mom is white. Her mom moved here from Germany after the war, and my dad is Latino, native Mexica, and Puerto Rican. And we grew up in a very highly segregated, racially divided and racially motivated area.
Oh.
And so when I would bounce back and forth from each family because they hated each other, they hated the other culture,
Yeah.
they hated me. And so I would go to one culture and they would hate me. I'd go to the other culture and they would hate me. So then I find myself in a place like Portland that's, in this area over here, 97% white, the end of the Oregon Trail. There's a culture here, let me tell you, and people will get one good look at me, and there's a tension there. They know they don't like me, and I mean, it's so racially motivated. I keep finding myself going into those exact same patterns, but I've become so much more aware of them, and I've gotten a lot more authentic in how I express myself
Yeah.
in those patterns. So the people that I engage with, the way I carry myself and communicate myself have gotten a lot more genuine to who I really am.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's parts of me that are angry, so when somebody comes out screaming at me, I will very easily tell them to step off. I can set boundaries and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be aggressive or confrontational, but I can absolutely set boundaries speaking from that part of me that is the protector.
Right.
And then there's parts of me that really want to be seen and accepted and valued, and I can provide that. And the more that I do that, then the more actual people who can actually see me and respect me and value me come into my life too. So it's interesting how that works.
Yeah. It's true though, from how you were saying it, I feel like it's important to say this, and I definitely do this. Sometimes when I become aware of a pattern or an identity, and I have an experience come back into my life that activates it, sometimes I go into it, but I go into it with my mind wide open, like my eyes wide open. And I do that because there's something that I'm missing in the pattern, right? So I'm like, I'm going to
Hmm.
do this again, but this time I'm very aware of what I'm getting into, what I'm going into, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very observant so I can see, because there are times in my healing journey where I wasn't able to identify what need it was filling and what it
Hmm.
was doing for me until I went back into it from a different perspective. And then of course, majority of the time I never have to see it through because as soon as I get it, I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm out. I'm
Hmm.
done. I'm going to exit left. And that's why I love the power of choice. Like sometimes you make a choice over and over again because you're just not seeing what you need to see. So when you
Yeah.
decide to go into a choice with curiosity, which I love that you use that word because I love that word. When you just get curious, why do I feel drawn to this? Why does this keep coming in? And let me just go through it from the perspective of, okay, I'm just going to witness everything. And once I see it, I'll know it. And that's how at times I have to navigate things because A lot of times when we have heavy trauma, we don't know, we know the trauma, we know the after effect, but we don't know sometimes that in between is blacked out, right? Because our amygdala
Yeah.
quit recording because we were disassociating to keep ourselves safe. And that's been helpful for me at times is to go, okay, I know this pattern's here. I'm going to walk it again, but I'm going to walk it with different level of awareness and see
Hmm.
what I can learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super important. Terence McKenna often talked about the increasing complexity of the present moment.
Yeah.
So he says when you look back in the past, it's almost always a much simpler time. And you look back in your life, there were simpler times. You look in history, it was simpler, and there's this increasing complexity.
Yeah.
And it's cyclical. It's like a spiral. We keep coming back around to the exact same dynamics. And if we're not able to engage with them and participate in them and attune to them and interact with them with agency and autonomy, they get much more intense.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason. They're there to give you the opportunity to engage with them. And yeah, I mean, it's great if you can engage with it and then the pattern clears in that moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. This year, I got handed one hell of a pattern that was ancestral, going from, hundreds of years of deep oppression from authoritative systems of my entire people being wiped out and
Yeah.
kicked off their land and forced into trades and having everything taken away from them. That came around hard for me.
Yeah.
And there was no just getting away from it.
Right.
I had to be with it
Yeah.
constantly. And this is where the practice comes in. See, that spiritual bypass, it's so elusive. So we say, okay, this is here. I want to fix it, or I want to get rid of it, or I don't want that. I drink green tea. I meditate. I'm beyond that now.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want anything to do with those things.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. That's not how it works. When those patterns come back around, and they do, and they get more intense, we have to be able to be with them. We can't
Yeah.
say, okay, my meditation is to get rid of all of the negative thoughts. That's
Oh,
not
yeah,
how
that
it
doesn't
works.
work.
It's not to get rid of the negative emotions. See, here's a judgment. We're evaluating these thoughts, these experiences, these emotions as bad.
Yeah.
Can I be with it? Can I be with what's here? Can I attune to it? Can I connect with it? Can I listen to it and see why is this here? Oh, it's the busy mind again. Oh, it's my trusted old friend who took me away from all the pain when I was younger because I didn't have the tools to navigate it.
Yeah.
Hello, my old friend. Welcome back.
Yeah.
But right now, your services are not needed. So
Hmm.
why don't you pull up a seat, have a cup of tea, and kick back and relax?
Yeah.
Because I'm focusing on this. And then we focus in on the experience of whatever it is. And then, oh, here comes the busy mind again. And then that's the practice,
Yeah.
is being deeply as possibly attuned to whatever it is that we're going through and
Yeah.
enacting choices.
Yeah. One of the things I always do first, anytime the mind gets busy or an energy comes present, I call it out immediately, letting it know I see you.
Mm,
I know you're there. And one of my favorite things to do when especially if I'm feeling fear or grief or abandonment is I always give myself permission. Like I give that part. I always say to myself, you're safe to feel that. You're safe to feel that. But we're not in any danger. Like that
mhm.
story is not happening right now, but I'm here with you and it's okay.
So important.
And I just remind myself like and something I'm known for saying is like emotions are just energy in motion. It's just repression coming up to the heart and banging on the door and saying, will you love me and accept me in this state? And if you can do that, I mean, that's what we're all looking for, right? We all want to be loved and accepted. And that starts with accepting and loving those versions of you that show up
Yeah.
because they weren't anybody who experienced any type of trauma as a child. That's what when you were hurting, that's what you needed.
Yeah.
So when you don't give that to yourself, you're abandoning yourself. You're ostracizing a part of you.
Yeah.
We should always be the most loving and compassionate and the kindest voice and words to ourselves. Like we can't help what other people do, but we can sure as hell help what we do.
But most people don't know how to do that.
It's a definitely something that you have to practice, like you
Of
say.
course.
And this is the thing that I see a lot of times with people. And we know this industry is getting kind of trendy and there's a lot of noise out there about it, right? But there really is a massive difference between somebody who just researches and intakes all of the content and regurgitates
Hmm.
it, and someone who takes all that information and says, how can I make this a daily practice
Yeah.
until I don't have to practice anymore because it's so embodied in me.
Hmm.
And, one of my processes that I received and was like, okay, and was like, okay, how can I put this into practice? It took me probably a good 2 years of daily practice before I never even really had to think about it anymore because it
Yeah.
became my natural state. But
Hmm.
don't think it wasn't because I had to do that every day at multiple times a day, every time moments came up.
Oh,
And
yeah. All throughout the day.
yeah, like, and then there's
Hmm.
days you have where you're so in the flow and you're so present and you're so at peace. And those are beautiful days. But when those days come where those things show up, that's when you have to show up for yourself.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, we continue the same patterns that we learned. So we get in those negative feedback loops where we treat ourselves the exact same way that we were treated when the pain originated. So then we
Yeah.
continue to feel that pain.
Yeah.
If we were kids and we were scared and we were feeling, fear because our parents weren't attuned to us or connected to us or emotionally available, they were too stressed, they were too busy, they
Yeah.
don't know how to attune to emotions, whatever it is. And we come to them because we're feeling this signal from our body that's saying we're in danger. So we're scared. And we come and we say, Mommy, Daddy, I'm scared. And they say, there's nothing to be afraid of. Go back to your room. They don't actually participate in the
Yeah.
experience. They have shown you to denounce or to repress that experience.
Right.
And so then we continue doing that later. So when I feel fear, I say, oh, there's nothing to be afraid of. So I love that you call it out. Or
Yeah.
call it out is an interesting term.
Well,
Usually we call things.
I see it as in I
Yeah,
see you, right? I
exactly,
see what's happening.
exactly. Yeah.
Like today, I woke up and I'm not someone who normally has anxiety, but there was an abundance of energy in my field, kind of
Hmm.
creating an overwhelm. And I was on my way to my allergist, and I was just rubbing my leg, and I was just like, I see that my mind is very overactive. I'm receiving from many parts of myself right now, and they seem to be, having this discussion. And I just said, I'm here and, I'm listening and I'm going to observe. I can listen to the stories, I can listen to those parts of myself without being pulled into the story now, which
Hmm.
was a
Yeah.
learned thing. Like I had to really practice that. But my number one thing was if I was abandoned as a child and neglected as a child and abused, I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard, I wasn't kept safe, I wasn't loved in any way. And so that was the foundation of my process that I created. And so I always start with, like, I see you. I'm not ignoring you because it will only get louder and more intense if you ignore it. So I
Hmm.
just say, I see you, I'm listening, and
Yeah.
I'm always touching my body and just reaffirming that I'm here with you. Let's breathe. I got you. I'm going to sit here with you. Let's work through this. Because I notice that as soon as I see it and all my awareness is like, oh, this is what's happening, it takes away 50% of its power. And for me anyway.
And that's how it goes for the vast majority of people. Yeah. Naming it, seeing it, again, allowing yourself to have it. The goal when we're kids and we're going through this pain and we don't have anybody to be there, the vast majority of the time we're not looking for somebody to fix it.
No.
And which is funny because when I start talking to people as adults and they're like, I got this thing, and it's like, well, what is the need? We start to get to the need here. They're like, I need it to be fixed. It's like, do you really? And we start going in deeper, and no, that's actually not it at all. See, if we were kids and somebody just fixed every problem for us,
Yeah.
that person's not going to be around forever.
Right.
At some point, they're going to go away. And we're going to be left with all those problems and no idea of how to navigate them.
Right.
So that's not the goal of nature by
Mm-mm.
any means. So when we're kids, what we really need is exactly what you just described, somebody to be with us,
Yeah.
somebody to see us, to hear us, to understand what we're going through, to acknowledge and validate. Of course, you're scared because this is a scary thing that's happening right here.
Yeah.
You don't have to go through it alone. This is how we navigate difficult times. I will go through it with you.
Yes.
If we can teach our children that, or if we would have been taught that as children, or if we can teach ourselves how to do that now, it changes the whole dynamic of what we're going through. So then the very difficult experiences of this world, which is full of difficult experiences, it's full of incredible, beautiful, astonishing, expansive experiences as well. But there's a lot of difficult ones. Once we really learn how to be with those, then we can really allow ourselves to be with whatever's coming up and we can
Right.
enjoy things a lot more too. So that bypass of trying to get away from the experiences that we don't like, it's not so needed anymore because regardless of the experience, we can be with it and we
Yeah.
can navigate it authentically with
Right.
as in who we really are and not acting out one of these adaptations.
Yeah. And you had said something else earlier, and I can't remember the words that you used, but I've gotten to the point now where when something happens, I truly am integrated into the belief that everything is happening for my benefit.
Yeah.
And there are I mean, when we understand frequency, there's a spectrum of it from one extreme to the other, and then there's this beautiful space between. And I have a choice in the lens of which I view the circumstances. So today I was denied something. No, it was yesterday. I was denied something. I forget even the whole circumstances of it. And I'd been waiting on, did I get approved? Did I get approved? Did I get approved for this? Or did I get accepted into this? And I remember I logged on the site and it said denied. And I just took a deep breath and I was like, this is a good thing. I don't know why it's a good thing, but I know it's a good thing. And I kind of got a little excited. And that's how, like, as someone with a very deep, had a very deep abandonment wound and spent a life abandoning herself, now I see a rejection or abandonment in such a different lens. And I'm like, okay, that redirect. I'm like, this is happening for the most beautiful reason. And I don't know how or why or whatever, but I know that in time it will reveal itself and I will be so grateful that I was denied this.
When you say excited, it made you excited. What do you mean?
I got excited because it meant that there's something better. There's
Mm,
something more, there's another opportunity, there's another
yeah,
possibility that is meant for me. And that just wasn't the one.
yeah,
I might have been playing too small or thinking too small or,
uh-huh,
that type of thing. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay. Well, if I got denied by this, that means that there is something else that is
yeah,
for me that I just haven't, hasn't been presented yet. And
yeah.
this is a good thing.
The word excited is what I'm focusing on
Yeah.
here. So when something gets excited, it means there's a lot of energy inside of it.
Yeah.
If an electron gets excited, it's about to make a jump to another level.
Yes.
So what was it that had a lot of energy flowing that you were feeling here?
It just a, it felt like expansion.
Hmm.
It felt like because I have personally been in the space between the quantum leap and that space sometimes, every time has different length.
Hmm.
But this was one of the last things I was like, okay, this is really, in my mind, this was going to tell me if I was going to the next level or not yet. If I
Hmm.
was going to expand and be able to hold more frequency and sustain it. And when I don't know, I saw that and I was like, that means I'm there. Like it's time. Those things that I have been planting the seeds and watering the seeds and taking care of, like
Yeah.
it's there.
So what emotion is this?
Um, it- it's not even, I wouldn't say it's even, what emotion would it be? I'm not someone who really connects to the emotional scale a whole lot.
Hmm.
So I would say it just felt like openness. It felt like, I don't want to say love. It just felt like possibility. It felt like,
Joy?
yeah, a little bit.
Happiness? It sounds like it. Sounds like happiness.
It to me it was more of peace and
Hmm.
curiosity, and I'm someone who finds joy in the curiosity, in the
Hmm.
adventure, in the exploration, in the unknown.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was joy there and happiness.
Yeah.
I just was like, it's almost like the best way I can describe it is if you're going on a road trip and you're like, I don't like someone says, oh, we're not going there, but you are going somewhere else, and you're like, oh, I wonder where I'm going. I wonder what's going to happen. Like the sense of adventure kind of came alive in me, and I didn't see it as a negative at all. And
Hmm.
I've had more and more of those experiences as when those things come up that look like a closed door, I'm like, hmm.
Hmm.
I don't take it personally anymore. I don't take it as I'm not worthy. I don't
Yeah.
take it as I'm the
Hmm.
problem. I go, oh, okay. So what's like, oh, this is exciting. What's next? What cool experience is going to present itself for me to explore?
Yeah. So just like how we call out or name the fear, the anxiety, the anger, the pain, it's really useful to name the joy
Yeah,
and the happiness. And oh, okay, that didn't work out, but it didn't work out because
yeah,
something's in line already
yeah,
here. Okay, something's happening. This is a good thing. So just like how we name those other things, let's really focus on naming the
yeah.
joy. It's, how glum and dark would life be if all we could identify was the negatives.
Right.
So we owe it to ourselves to really to allow ourselves to have, and again, this kind of comes back to that belief of it's got to be intense,
Yeah,
just showing up in another shade. We're allowed to have the joy, and here,
yeah,
see, the word excitement is often used synonymously with joy. Oh, I'm excited. I'm
yeah.
happy. I'm happy, but that's just one way that we deprive ourselves or rob ourselves from really experiencing the joy of what's happening in that moment.
For me, excitement is looking forward to something,
Hmm.
and I'm somebody who is motivated by hope.
Yeah.
It's just
Hope.
how in my, and
Yeah.
so I saw it as that. I saw it as
Yeah.
like, oh, I have something to look forward to. There's so much good that's coming for me.
Hmm. Good.
But when I'm in, I notice that I call out the good, if we're going to label them good or bad, but the good emotions, I'm really good at calling out the peace because that's the
Hmm.
energy that I crave the most, is
Yeah.
always wanting to be in a state of peace and
Hmm.
neutrality. And so I set out to have those experiences purposely, and doing things that I know invoke that state in me. And I always bask in it. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
is peace. And this feels so amazing. Or when I'm
Peace.
grateful or any of those things,
Grateful. Yeah.
I'm just like, God, this is what it feels like to be just
Hmm.
so grateful.
Yeah.
And that actually saved me when I was going through the first couple of years of a nomad, when I was having those experiences of not knowing how to take care of myself
Hmm.
and love myself and being in dire circumstances. And I would find like my mud water. I would enjoyed it so much that I would just savor every sip and just feel the
Hmm.
gratitude for having this one thing, this one
Hmm.
anchor point. So you're right. It is very important to call those things out too.
Yeah. Just all the words that you use to describe the experience. Hope.
Yeah.
Hope it's the mental state. It's something that I want to happen, can or is happening.
Yeah.
And then the emotion is I'm happy,
Yeah.
right? The gratitude. Oh, I'm so happy something's happening. I,
Yeah.
I'm I am I am enjoying, I'm
Yes.
allowing myself to have this, right?
Hmm.
This is all in the spectrum of joy
Yeah.
and happiness and peace. This is all in the gentleness, which is
Yeah.
all a spectrum of the joy.
Yeah.
So yes, yes. See, when we're in this, it's very important to really notice if life is like the spectrum that we're talking about, and only certain things are visible, right? You can only see certain colors of it.
Yeah.
Which ones are we focusing on all the
Right.
time? It's really important to allow ourselves to see a lot more of them, especially like when we grow up in environments that are difficult, challenging, painful, and we have to take on other people's emotions and we have all these various adaptations, we get very attuned to the pain.
Yes.
And so, one way that we really help that child part of us that's always adapting to that is we grab them by the hand and we say, and look at how wonderful all of this is right here.
Yeah.
And we can show them how wonderful and how expansive and how joyful these areas of life can be.
Yeah.
So by allowing ourselves to have it is an incredible healing process as
Yeah.
well.
I love that. Oh my gosh, this has been such a great interview. I want to ask if you could leave, if you could only have, if you had one message that you would want to share with the world, if you could only share one message that you think would have the most impact, what would that be?
Hmm. Well, I'm inclined to say be yourself,
Yeah.
but I think that message gets communicated very frequently, and it's we don't really know how
Yeah.
to be ourselves. So I think another one is one of my teachers says this. He says that the world that shaped your mind, the environment that you grew up in that shaped how you process your emotions, your worldview, the way that you view yourself, the way that you view others, you're not responsible for the things that happened to you. That was the world that you were born into.
Yeah.
However, you are responsible for the mind that you have now that you're using to shape the world around you,
Yes.
right? So we can bask in all the things that happen to us, or we can start to take responsibility for them. And by changing our relationship with ourselves, this is how we can change the world.
Yeah. I love that. Well, where can people find you if they're interested in getting to know more about you and working with you? What is the best way they can do that?
Mhm. My website's first and foremost psychedelic-integration.net. We have lots of resources on there and numerous free support groups that we do pretty much every week at this point. So anybody's welcome to come in, drop in, and talk just like we're doing today.
Yeah.
And we do free consultations and lots of other things. So there's interviews, all sorts of information if you want to check that out. Instagram's great too, Psyche Integration, or YouTube as well.
Okay. And that's so important because not I didn't have, thankfully, I know enough, but I did not get the integration support that I think should have been provided, when you do
Yeah.
psychedelics. So knowing a resource like you, I think is such a gift in the world. So thank you so
Oh,
much for
thank you.
being on the show. And all of his websites and links will be in the description of the podcast below. So thank you so much for being here with me. And I'm just very grateful.
Likewise. Thank you.
All right, you guys, I will see you in the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by JohannaBurkhardt.com, where it's time to defy the limits of your mind and step into your multidimensional mastery. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next time.